Hello everyone, my name is Sherry Abdelaziz and I'm a master's student here at ASU in the Family and Human Development program. As part of my culminating experience, I have spent time researching and writing about culture as it relates to parenting. Due to the fascinating nature of this topic, there is a great deal of research out there. Today, we scratch the surface of how cultural differences in society affect individuals and their ability to parent children. Before getting started, I wanted to take a moment to explain my background to you. Both my parents were born and raised in Egypt. After giving birth to me, they then moved to the United States to begin a new life. As I reflect back on my childhood, I realized that it was a daily struggle to comprehend why the expectations set forth by my parents seemed completely inconsistent with my observations outside the home. Whether it was peer interactions at school, or extracurricular activities, or even just observing other families in the neighborhood, I was always unsure why the rules, expectations, and ideals that were preached to me on a daily basis were so much different than what I was seeing elsewhere. Now, over 20 years later, the realm of culture and parenting remains extremely fascinating to me. Although I was able to become successfully socialized in my community, as well as gain the values and beliefs instilled by my parents, I understand the struggle that cultural differences may have on individuals in terms of parenting and child rearing. With this being the case, it is no surprise that this topic is so interesting to me. So let's begin. Within this realm of research, there are numerous variables and questions that can be addressed. Our question, however, is in regards to the relationship between the two variables. How does culture affect the different aspects of parenting? Let's take a look at each of these variables in more depth in order to truly understand the relationship between them. The concept of parenting is often thought of as common knowledge due to the great majority of parents out there. However, do we all truly have a good understanding of what parenting means, as well as the importance associated with it? Parenting is often defined as the process of supporting the health and well-being of a child. This process also includes the promotion of cognitive, emotional, social, and financial development and stability. Parenting also specifically refers to child rearing practices outside of just a biological relationship. According to numerous cross-cultural research, the major goals of parenting are ensuring the safety and health, the preparation for adulthood, and the instillment of cultural values in one's offspring. It is also noted that parenting is affected by a wide variety of variables that influence the way that we raise our children. It is also noted that parenting is an evolving practice that often shifts as time passes and cultural values change. In today's society, cultural differences play a significant role in numerous aspects of our lives. According to the research, culture is described as the beliefs and values held by a particular group based on various characteristics. These characteristics may range from religious viewpoints to social norms and expectations. Despite the manner in which these cultural differences present themselves within the lives of individuals, research also suggests that these differences significantly affect the way in which we are raised and socialized. Research also suggests that this is due to the fact that culture is believed to be a construct utilized to predict and control behaviors and interactions amongst individuals. Despite the significance culture has on various aspects of our lives, this influence is often gone unnoticed by those affected by it. It is noted that the majority of individuals living within their own communities are unconscious of the effects that their culture has on their lives. Individuals are thought to be unable to buffer these effects when it comes to other aspects of their lives due to the fact that they have no idea these influences are even there. Now that we have a better understanding of our variables, let's discuss the relationship between them. Once again, our question is, how does culture and the differences associated with it affect parenting? It is suggested that individuals often fail to notice the subtle changes in parenting practices that stem from diversity and cultural differences. Despite this, an overwhelming amount of research indicates that cultural differences do in fact alter the way in which individuals parent their children. Specifically, differences among culture affects the manner in which children are socialized, which parenting styles are employed by their parents and guardians, and how conflict is managed between parents and their children. Let's take a closer look at just how culture impacts the way in which we socialize our children. Before moving on to the definition of socialization and what that means in regards to culture and parenting, let's take a moment to reflect on a time where our parents attempted to socialize us in a manner that was inconsistent with our own beliefs and experiences. Perfect. Now, personally speaking, stemming from my diverse cultural background, it was common that my parents insisted on attempting to buffer the effects of the socialization that I was experiencing outside the home. The most prominent example would be the way in which my parents insisted that I wear clothing associated with their culture rather than the community that I currently resided in. Although that's not too horrible, it can impact a child in numerous ways. Now, let's learn a little bit more about the motives and reasons behind socialization, as well as the importance in regards to parenting and culture. Throughout parenting research, the significance of properly socializing children is greatly emphasized. Socialization is defined as the process hereby individuals are taught the norms, customs, and ideals of a community. Socialization is also said to provide individuals with the proper knowledge and skills to successfully participate within that society. According to a great deal of the research, the socialization process is also utilized to ensure the continuity of a culture and society. Also, successful socialization is dependent on the ability of individuals to demonstrate and maintain the fundamental structures and values associated with a culture or social group. The proper instillment and practices of these norms and values assist individuals in becoming integrated to their communities and social groups. It is also indicated that the notion of a social group and/or community is observed in many different forms. A social group is defined as a group of individuals interacting together based on shared goals, values, or beliefs. It is also suggested that socialization is not exclusive to an individual's own culture or country of origin. It is noted that the socialization to a community or social group may include one's current community, religious groups, or those of the same socioeconomic status or educational background. It's also suggested that due to the various groups in which an individual may belong to, cultural differences hold the capability to influence a large portion of an individual's life. And as we learned earlier, it's often gone unnoticed that these influences are even present in one's life. Now, how does socialization change based on culture? It is noted that individuals are observed to be more likely to socialize their children in a manner similar to their own upbringing. Individuals that lack the knowledge of the impact made by this upbringing are seen to be more likely to experience difficulty rearing these children. It is also suggested that this difficulty increases when socialization is attempted outside the community or social group that an individual was reared in personally. It is also suggested that this relates to the notion that individuals are once again unconscious of the differences between the societies in which one was raised versus the society in which one is attempting to raise their own children. When individuals struggle with socializing their children appropriately based on their culture of origin as well as their current community, they often receive backlash from children seen in the form of confusion and disobedience. This is suggested to stem from the inconsistency between what a child observes outside the home and the expectations their parents set. It is suggested that children are more likely to be socialized into the culture and/or community that they actively participate in, despite the efforts to instill ideals and practices from different social groups. This may be due to the direct contact and exposure children have in their current community, as well as peer interactions outside the home. With this being the case, it is important that individuals are mindful of the fact that the beliefs and practices they attempt to instill in their children do not always resonate. All in all, it is important to find a balance between one's country and/or community of origin and their current community as a means of instilling the proper values, beliefs, and ideals from both cultures. The parenting styles employed by individuals is said to also be based on cultural differences. Differences in culture observed among various communities and social groups are used to predict parenting styles and child-rearing methods due to the fact that the instillment of the parenting styles of one's parents as well as one's cultural background plays a direct and significant role in how individuals perceive parenting and the roles associated with it. Despite other influences on parenting style, cultural diversity may account for a majority of the differences observed in parenting methods and behaviors across cultures. It is also argued that an individual's cultural surroundings and means of socialization directly influence their relationship with their children. For example, individuals of Chinese descent, as well as other Asian cultures, are more likely to employ parenting styles and behaviors congruent with the collectivistic viewpoint. Thus, these families hold strong values associated with solidarity and community within these Asian cultures. Comparatively, it is suggested that parents in Western cultures that are not considered collectivistic hold a greater value on instilling independence in their children. It is also theorized that parents in cultures that hold a strong value towards collectivism and dependency are more likely to parent in an authoritarian manner as a means of instilling these values and ensuring that children continue the traditions associated with that culture and/or community. Moreover, although families may now be living in Western societies, an individual's upbringing and socialization continues to influence the manner in which they parent children. Comparatively, due to the strong emphasis on independence and self-growth in Western societies, it is observed that a majority of individuals and parents of similar upbringings raise and discipline their children in a manner congruent with these values. Research also notes that authoritative parenting styles are utilized across cultures, resulting in similar positive outcomes. Once again, despite differences among culture, research strongly indicates that the manner in which individuals parent and rear children plays a significant role in how successfully children are socialized into their communities and social groups. In regards to conflict, in terms of parenting and cultural differences, conflict may be defined as a strong disagreement between individuals or groups, or in this case, between a parent and their children. Due to the sensitive nature of conflict, most parents struggle with how to handle conflict and disagreements with children. Research suggests that the manner in which these individuals choose to manage conflict is strongly affected by cultural perceptions of conflict. Individuals with cultural backgrounds that emphasize direct communication are observed to be more likely to employ healthy methods of conflict management and resolution with children. Research also notes that different cultures utilize different forms of conflict resolution, which accounts for these differences. Cultural expectations and social norms are said to influence the conflict resolution behaviors employed by parents. Research also suggests that there are both similarities and differences in conflict management styles between both Western and Asian cultures. A research study was conducted to depict the rate of familial communication satisfaction by observing the preferred conflict resolution method utilized by parents across both Western and Asian cultures. individuals from both Western and Asian countries and backgrounds were evaluated to determine how the differences among culture correlate to the differences among communication and conflict styles. The results indicated that obliging and avoiding behaviors were most common in parents of Asian backgrounds, whereas parents of Western cultures were observed to utilize more compromising and integrating methods. Dominating behaviors were observed among parents of both Western and Asian backgrounds. The researchers also found commonalities between the two cultures. A strong correlation between conflict orientation and satisfaction with communication was also detected. As previously noted, research suggests that cultural differences impact the manner in which individuals attempt to manage conflict. It is also suggested that parents who have been socialized into a community or social group that is different than his or her children may face obstacles when attempting to resolve conflict. It's also suggested that the utilization of contradictory conflict styles may result in an increased level of conflict. The effects of incompatibility of conflict resolution methods have been observed to be detrimental to parent and child relationships. An increased level of disobedience and avoidance behaviors between parents and children in circumstances where differences prevent healthy conflict and communication patterns are observed. Research also suggests that the ability to communicate effectively and in a manner a child understands will increase the likelihood that conflict will be managed appropriately and effectively. All in all, it is evident that cultural differences and diversity as a whole play a significant role in not only our daily lives, but in the way that we manage and rear our children. It is important to note that understanding the effects of cultural differences on the different aspects of our lives, especially parenting, will ensure effective and healthy child rearing, which will then result in the development of competent adults and individuals within our society. Furthermore, understanding culture and parenting and the relationship between the two will help in advancing the knowledge of parenting behaviors and patterns to help us better understand what really works and what doesn't. What is going to be beneficial for our children versus what will be detrimental or ineffective. It is important to determine one's own cultural impact prior to attempting to socialize, rear, and manage any form of conflict with their children. Thank you all for spending some time with me today, going over just the bare basics of culture and how it relates to parenting and child rearing practices. As I mentioned previously, this realm of research is absolutely gigantic. There's already so much research out there and even more to be discovered. Although parenting is often thought of as common sense or common knowledge, it is imperative that we remain mindful when raising and bringing up our children. It is important to also remember that the manner in which we socialize children is important in maintaining a healthy and happy society moving forward. Again, thank you all for your time, and I hope that you found this interesting as well as informative. Have a great day. Finally, research regarding the effects of culture on parenting emphasizes the various aspects of a parent's behaviors that are implicitly and explicitly influenced. It is suggested that a greater influence on education for parents regarding cultural impacts and parenting are vital in ensuring effective parenting and child rearing practices. Self-reflection is also observed as beneficial in promoting mindful parenting. Self-reflection is also theorized to improve consciousness of the effects of culture on parenting. Research also emphasizes the positive outcomes of cultural influences in parenting, such as implementations of innovative methods of parenting. Also, please feel free to look into all of these references as they are a fantastic source of information on the topic